Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel, where today I'd like to talk about the new plans for my cars and my car collection in terms of the future garage, in terms of new cars coming, and in terms of the big plans that I've got ahead and which cars might be going to which continent. Well, today I'm here at home with the 675 LT Spider. The G63 is here as well, but we're going to be taking the LT out to run a few errands. We're going to be heading over to Duntbarn as well, where of course many of the Shmeemobiles are currently located. A few things I need to get sorted out there, but there's a lot to run through, so let's hop in the car and get out on the road. I've gone and done something that normally I try to avoid when I'm parking the cars up here at home, and I'm sure some of you have spotted this instantly, but if not, I have managed to leave the LT with its lift system up, and supercars always look really odd when you have these massive wheel arch gaps. And now that I've pointed it out, it's probably extra obvious to all of you, but this car, like many of the McLarens, has the four-wheel lift system thanks to its hydraulic suspension, which you very much need in order to get the low front end in down the ramps of the garage. Obviously it's much easier with the G63. But oddly, when I drove this in the last time, despite having no issues in the 4.5 years or so that I've owned it so far, it actually scraped at the front. Now in summer I had this replaced, but the LT has a cheap plastic piece just underneath here to protect you from damaging the much more expensive carbon fibre that you have on the front bumper for the splitter. So thankfully not the worst thing if you do scrape it, just gotta hope that I don't end up breaking it again. Anyway, like I said, the weather outside isn't great, but let's hop on in to get this car started. It's now done I think about 16,400 miles or so in total, but we'll get the noise of a lovely twin turbo V8 startup. Yeah, 16,397.6 miles. So let's wake it up. Here we go, and give another press and bring it into life. Perfect. Right, let's do this. Heading out of town, short little drive, always fun to be back in the LT. I guess, as expected, this is not ideal. It is slightly drizzling, it is largely unpleasant, and it's certainly not 675 LT weather. Although I tell you what, after the outings we had with this car, taking it down to Italy in the summer and just generally enjoying it so much again, it's such a permanent car in the garage because it's so much fun every single time. It's one of the best road cars that I think McLaren has ever made. I've said that regularly. I think it's just such an emotional car to drive without some of the lack of emotion that you get on the newer cars. And even this versus the Senna, I often say that this it's not as fast, obviously, and it's not as dramatic, and it's not as expensive, and it's not as crazy. It doesn't win the top trumps game by any stretch of the imagination, but to actually own and use, it's an amazing thing. And I'm going to pop the lift system back down because it's been on the whole time. No, that's cruise control. This is what happens. Average speed check. This is what happens when you jump in and out of lots of cars. On the Senna, it's on the right. On this car, it's on the left. Got it right. So we're cruising out of town, and I need to give you some updates.
Entering average speed check zone.
This must be one of the bleakest periods that I have ever experienced driving in London or in England, full stop. Just at the moment, the weather is persistently bad. There is always bad traffic. We've got all of the lower speed limits and the average speed cameras and red light cameras, and it's just immensely frustrating. Plus, of course, the very poor driving standards in the UK, which sounds odd. You'd expect this country to have quite a high standard, but when you've been spoiled with driving in Germany so much, with great lane discipline and lovely roads to begin with, which of course this car enjoyed a lot, including the Nürburgring and the Autobahn and a trip down to Italy as well, it is quite frustrating being back here, and obviously we want to be pushing on, not cruising along in traffic. Anyway, there are a couple of things I would like to talk about. Firstly, the garage and what's going to be happening with the Shmuseum. Secondly, some of the big plans that I have ahead for 2021 that weren't able to happen this year, plus going even bigger. And then thirdly, when we're at Duntbarn, the storage, we'll talk a bit as well about some of the future changes in the Shmeemobiles, some of the cars that might be coming, some of the cars that might be leaving, and the general changes. So as you know, for about 3 or 4 years, until a couple of months ago, my cars were living in a supercar storage in central London. It's been working fairly well, but a couple of things were getting a bit frustrating and it wasn't really working out. So I took the decision to take them over to Duntbarn temporarily until I could finally find the Shmuseum. And I've been looking now for probably the best part of, I would say, 2 years to try and find the right location, but everything has to be perfect. I've got a few options now on the cards, but this must be the biggest project that I've ever tried to undertake. There are so many factors that all need to come together, from the right location to all of the car car's fitting in, to everything around it, to the insurance saying it's okay, to the security side of things, to the flooring, lighting, walls, office, mezzanine, the way to display items. There's so much to think about, and obviously being a bit of a perfectionist, I want it to be spot on. So I do now have a couple of options on the cards, a few things that I'm chasing that could work out to be really very, very special. So completely fingers crossed that one of these is going to work out, because if it does, to bring this to reality has been my dream for a long time. So that's why it needs to be right. That's why it has to be absolutely right. And it would be a great space for storing the cars, for having all of the memorabilia on show, and of course for filming my videos for you guys to experience it as well, and maybe to run giveaways and things and have the opportunity to bring people down. Who knows what the future might have in store in connection to that. But I'm excited about it. I'm hoping it's not going to be too long, but if it doesn't work out, I'll have to take a step back and wait for the next space. So at the moment, we're heading to Duntbarn, where some of the cars are currently stored. It's looking very grim up ahead, but let me talk as well about the plans that are on the horizon going into 2021. So earlier this year, back in April, I'd actually planned a trip with some of the Shmeemobiles to go down to Morocco for the first time, to take one of my cars down to Africa, to go to the south of Spain, to the south of Portugal, to do some track events, and then to cross over the sea as well. Unfortunately, obviously, considering everything that was going on, that wasn't able to happen. The next thing that couldn't happen was to then take the SLS Black Series, which straight after being painted, the plan had been to take it to the USA, to do gumball with it, and then to keep it there for a couple of months of driving around America, which also couldn't happen this year and still can't happen, which connects to the GT500, which I've talked about a few times, and why that hasn't happened, because I simply cannot go to America, unfortunately. So that didn't happen, but next year I want to try and make both of these trips happen in some form. I'm thinking to take a car to the Middle East, maybe the SLS out to Dubai. I'm thinking to take the GT Black Series, when I take delivery of it, out to the USA for a couple of months. And I'm still thinking to go to Morocco. If so, plus driving around Europe, that would mean 4 continents for the Shmeemobiles in 1 year, which is mental. So already we're using some of the time over this winter to plan and think about this, to see if we can come up with a way of making all of that happen. Those are obviously just some of the ideas to take and forget what happened this year and how it couldn't go as planned, and obviously other things have been having to be dealt with as well, and go into next year with some big plans and hopefully some amazing content for you guys to enjoy, and fingers crossed some sort of, I guess, normality and the ability to host some meetings and be able to meet with you guys again. That's been one of the frustrating things this year, obviously not possible for very clear reasons. Anyway, I guess we're out of town a bit, we're cruising on the motorway, it's a little bit more open, although still very, very miserable. But let's get ourselves over to Duntbarn, and when we get there, we can touch on a few other things, including some changes in the garage. Well, this is miserable, and certainly not 675 LT weather, when a car puts its indicator on and you're just like, I'm getting on the brakes, because I don't know how much control I'm going to have on short bars when the weather is like this. It's absolutely awful. Look at this. Oh, why are we in this car today? Sometimes I question my sanity, but take it easy. I think it's all about how you drive, right? If you put your foot down, stamp on the throttle, that's when you run the risk of it sliding out. If you drive normally, take it easy, keep your head in check, should be okay. Arrived at Duntbarn and back with some of the Shmeemobiles then that are here in storage, but you can possibly hear in the background the sound of the raindrops pattering on the roof of the barn. It is still pouring, and in a moment we need to pull in the 675 LT, and we're going to be taking out the AMG GT R Pro to continue to our next stop. But before we do that, a few words about keeping cars in storage. As you know, my cars that are living here are mostly in longer term hibernation over the winter, but they're always fully cleaned, have a full tank of fuel, living under covers, and crucially, they are all plugged in to CTEK smart battery chargers. It is very important when you don't drive cars all that often to ensure that the batteries are conditioned and the cars are good to go at the press of the button, ready to be taken out. No issues with flat batteries. I've always been using CTEK chargers, and in fact, Duntbarn have all of the cars that are here in storage also plugged into CTEK chargers as well. And thanks to CTEK, we're going to be giving away a set of chargers to you and 3 of your friends. In fact, 4 of the CTEK MX-5s, suitable for many vehicles to help keep your cars charged up over winter. We're going to be giving them to a lucky winner who
is chosen at random, who has liked a post on Instagram, on CTEK's Instagram. I'll put the link down below. Also following the CTEK page, who tags 3 of the friends that you would like to win them along with yourself. So find all of the information about that below, but I use them, I thoroughly recommend them, and of course we'll be giving away some of those. So like I said, the cars that are here in storage, of course we've got the Taycan, slightly different setup for that, and in fact some of the cars have lithium batteries as well, so you're using slightly different chargers depending on the various cars, but the MX-5s are the most universal version of them. I need to tell you though about cars that might or might not be changing. I think for the moment we'll get the cars swapped around and then get on the road back towards our next stop, and I'll tell you more. I've put some of the cars back under their covers. The Pro, of course, is out, and the Taycan, I want to come and show you this. Obviously, this has been charging up, totally different type of battery charger, given it's an electric car, but inside you will spot on the screen, we actually have 100% of charge, which is quite fun. Don't get that all that often, but a bonus of keeping it in storage, plugged in. For the time being, I would have liked to have taken that back home, but I don't actually have enough parking spaces. So we're going to take the Pro for something that's coming up with that, and collect the Taycan again very soon to take that on out. From one hardcore road car to another, but thankfully it is no longer raining, but this one is on the Sport Cup 2s, and as you can see down the countryside lanes, or probably can't really see because of quite how dark it is certainly pretty wet and greasy, and down these very narrow roads is where you realise quite how wide a car like this is, because it's very hard not to drive down the cat's eyes that we have in the middle of the lanes. But I need to talk to you a little bit about the future cars in the garage, and the first of those to arrive is going to be the AMG GT Black Series, which I believe should be somewhere in Q1 2021. Now, it's not fully clear when they will actually deliver the cars. Maybe it'll be January, maybe it'll be March, and that will have impacts on what I can do with that car because of all of my plans to do with changing some things, like the colour, for example, which all take quite a lot of time. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens in that respect. I think the next car to join the garage will be the BMW M3 Competition, currently due around April or May, that sort of time, but again, we'll have to see. I'm hoping there might be some really cool stuff we can actually do with that before delivery of it as well. And then during next year, I guess there will be some other things. There might be a Hurricane STO if I do go for it, but if so, that will be right towards the end of the year. That will be a Q4 type thing, right, you know, tucked in. Oh, this is narrow, look at this. When you're in a car like this is not so much fun. This is not much fun at all, because I can't really stick it completely in the bushes off to the left-hand side. Yep, even there we're setting the sensors off. That was delightfully unpleasant. Joys of the countryside, hey. So yes, STO right at the end of the year if that goes ahead. Outside of that, there might be some random things. There usually are. It wouldn't be the Shmee 150 channel if there weren't random additions joining the garage. In here we have stop-start, and I definitely would have gone if I had realised people were going quite so slowly. But other cars, we'll talk about the GT500 more very soon. We'll also talk a little bit about the TBR Griffith. Your guess is as good as mine if that car is ever going to happen. I'm pretty worried at the moment that it won't, because there's basically not really been any news, and it's now about 4 or 5 years old, if not more. So let's see what happens with that. Anyway, let's continue. We'll head to the motorway. It's a very boring drive to get back. A lot of cruising in average speed camera zones, but we'll make our way and have this back at home ready for what we've got planned with it next. For a bit of fun, we actually are on the flyover right now that goes past the new Mercedes-Benz dealer that's being built just here. The significantly upgraded showroom, still away from completion, to where I bought my original GTR. We're back where we began earlier, now with the GTR Pro instead of with the 675 LT. There's a lot of rotation going on at the moment, and of course with the G63. And talking of G63, come and take a look at what we have got just here, the production version of the Mini Shops 1:18 scale Shmeemobile G63. These are now on sale in physical stock in the cerulean blue with the satin navy arches, the exact spec as per the real car as well. You've got the navy blue for the spare wheel cover on the back, and in fact I'm just going to carefully take this, I've just taken it out of the box and take it over to the G63, because how cool is it when you have a matching model and its big brother sitting right together with the same number plates, SH63 MEE, that is just amazing. As you know from the channel, I'm a very, very big fan of these kind of things. It's super awesome that we can work with mini shunts to make so many of the Shmeemobiles into the 1:18 scale models like we did with the SLS Black Series and now as well with the G63. So I'll pop the link to those down below as well, but really, really, really nice. And of course, doing a touch of off-roading on the bonnet of the GT R Pro, but imagine if I did something wrong here and that went sliding off. That would not be so good. I need to keep that in my collection upstairs with all of the other models, which will move on, of course, to the Shmuseum when the time comes. I cannot wait to bring all of those kind of things, the Lego models that I have as well, all the memorabilia, to have it all on display. I've been, like I said, thinking about this for so long, and now that we're getting closer to finding the right setup and making it all happen, I'm definitely spending far too long thinking about it, but hopefully it's not going to be long now. Anyway, don't forget as well, we have the giveaway with CTEK, with the battery chargers, information down below about that, and about the Mini Shunts G63. But today, I guess a bit of an errand, a bit of an update on the big plans ahead with the cars, for the car collection, the new cars coming, the trips I intend to make, and what's going to be happening with the garage as well. But for today, that is all. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your support. As always, guys, I appreciate it an awful lot. But that's it for this time, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers!